Senator Kaine, followed by Senator Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Young, good to be with you. Budgets aren't about numbers, they're about people. The U.S. economy has come out of COVID stronger than any economy in the world, large economy. Jobs are up, unemployment's down, manufacturing jobs are up, inflation is coming down, people's 401ks are up, the rate of people who have insurance in this country dramatically up. These are the measures that I look at when I look at a budget and an economy. And I don't see a competing economy in the world that has done what the U.S. has done, and we've exceeded our own expectations from the CBO and others, as Senator Van Hollen stated. A couple of comments on some Virginia priorities, then I want to dig into child care with you. First, I really appreciate the President's budget has funding to save Tangier Island in the Chesapeake Bay. I asked you a question for the record in your confirmation hearing about the President's willingness to invest in fighting sea level rise and promoting coastal resilience, and the President's budget includes funding that builds on CDS funding I've received in the past to make sure we save this island in the Chesapeake Bay that has lost about 70% of its land mass and is extremely vulnerable to climate change. I was not happy that the President's budget zeroed out a program that I care a lot about, the Lorna Breen Act, which is funding for the health care needs of the mental health needs of our health care providers. The budget is strong with respect to behavioral health. I think that's great. But there's a particular program that I've worked on bipartisan that focuses upon the mental health needs of health care providers, named after a Virginia emergency room physician who died by suicide in April of 2020. And I'll work with my colleagues to make sure we continue that funding. I know you're under some tight budget caps that affected some of the priorities that I care about. Let me ask you about one right now. The President sent us a supplemental that we have passed in the Senate by a 70 to 29 vote for national security. And one of the items in the supplemental was a significant investment in an initiative of President Biden's I strongly support, the AUKUS framework. We'll work together with Australia and the UK to build out more deterrence in the Indo-Pacific, and pillar one of that framework is construction of Virginia-class submarines and selling them to Australia in the 2030s, eventually equipping Australia with the capacity to build their own subs in the 2040. So the President strongly supports it, and he should. It's a great initiative, but the President's budget that was sent up to us actually reduces funding for Virginia-class subs. We've been budgeting at 2 a year. The President has suggested in this budget that we would only build 1 a year. To get to our commitment level where we can meet what we've committed to with Australia, we have to get to 2.3 a year. So I view the 2 to 1 in this budget as an unfortunate backslide that is sort of in a cognitive dissonance with the President's request that we fund the AUKUS initiative. Can you tell us about some of the challenging trade-offs that you've had to make in putting this budget together to meet budget caps?
Look, we felt it was important. When the President makes a deal, he keeps a deal, to stick by the Fiscal Responsibility Act. But I want you to know the President, the administration, fully believe in the AUKUS partnership with Australia. We fund about the equivalent of 1.3 submarines a year. We need that number to go to something like 2.3. So it is not just funding the submarines. We have got to invest in our submarine industrial base. So one thing I'd ask you to do is look at this in concert with the supplemental. We need that supplemental to move out of the House, not just for our partners in Ukraine and Israel and humanitarian assistance, but we don't talk about the submarine and Indo-Pacific part enough. And that money is critical to not just building submarines, but building the base so we can actually, when we ask for 2, we can get 2. Because right now, the industrial base is not sufficient and does not have enough capacity to do that. So we really need that supplemental to move in order to keep our agreement intact with AUKUS. And we look forward to working with you and others to make sure that AUKUS remains in place, that we get the submarine money and the industrial base fit to produce more submarines.
Thank you. Other colleagues have praised the President's budget in the child care area, and I join that. So good for parents, so good for kids, so good for child care workers, great for the economy. It will free up more people to come back in who are out of the economy now. Last question is, how challenging is it for you to be 6 months into a fiscal year and not have appropriations bills done?
Oh, the old staff director in me is on the backseat in trouble. I now regret the late bills I may have worked on and did not fully appreciate how difficult it is to implement programs, the efficiency. Just think about last Friday. Big fire drill, 4 o'clock, we're like, uh-oh, is the Senate gonna pass this in time? Activating lots of people, seeing if we have to put stuff on hold. It is no way to run a government. And so we share your frustration. We want to look for ways. Speaking of bipartisanship and things we have to work together on, one is on the process questions. I'm one of those believers that process makes a good output, gives us a good product. And we have to do something and work on the process of the appropriations process. And my guess is it's something I'll think about and work on for the rest of my time working in this town, because it's incredibly important, and agencies depend on this. And by the way, I like the annual process. I don't want to see the frustration with that process do away with that. I think it's a good thing that Congress looks at, now it's 30% of programs every year. But unless we fix the process, that frustration is going to bubble up and endanger, because you see the problems with it, the threats of shutdown.
You have many supporters on that point in the committee, including the chairman. I appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you.